Think back to a time when you had your eyes fixed on a specific goal. You wanted it desperately, but the objective was so high out of reach, you knew you couldn't get there on your own. When you crave something intensely, whether it's a promotion or social acceptance or a creative milestone, that ambition creates a psychological blind spot. You start looking for a shortcut. Manipulative individuals know exactly how to identify that specific kind of hunger. They constantly scan their environment, looking for targets who have a high ceiling of ambition, but a low floor of resources. Because your eyes are entirely locked on the prize above you, you stop paying attention to the ground. That intense, unmet desire to rise makes you willing to ignore the true motives of anyone who suddenly offers you a lift. Then, almost like serendipity, someone appears who seems to have exactly what you need. They possess the resources, the connections, or the sheer power to elevate you without you having to struggle. Being singled out by someone capable of effortlessly bypassing all your obstacles is an intoxicating feeling. You feel uniquely valuable, as if they recognize hidden potential in you that everyone else missed. In exchange for that rapid ascent, you make a quiet, often unconscious trade. You hand over your independence, placing your trust entirely in their strength instead of relying on your own footing. The most effective psychological traps are never set with threats or force. They are constructed entirely out of sudden, overwhelming, and unearned support. In psychology, this phase of artificial elevation is called idealization. It is the period where a manipulator actively lifts you out of your normal reality and places you on a pedestal. This diagram illustrates the mechanics of that sphere of control. From your perspective, you feel like you are finally flying. But clinically speaking, you aren't generating any of your own upward momentum. You are entirely contained within their boundaries, effectively being carried as cargo. As you go higher, they systematically cut you off from the ground. Your normal support networks, your old routines, and your independent perspective slowly vanish, leaving you entirely dependent on them to maintain your new altitude. While you are experiencing genuine euphoria from this rapid success, their actions are clinical and detached. The elevation is not a gift, it is a mechanical process of moving you into position. The higher they take you, the more total their power becomes. Once you are completely disconnected from the ground, your survival rests entirely in their hands. Then comes the devaluation phase. Without any warning, and often at the very peak of your ascent, they simply let go. The immediate psychological shock is paralyzing. One moment, you are completely supported, and the next, the very foundation of your success vanishes, leaving you scrambling in the air to understand what you did wrong. Crashing back down to reality is brutal. Because you didn't climb to that height yourself, you have no established footholds to catch you, ensuring you hit the ground with maximum impact. This is where the predator's actual agenda becomes clear. They never intended to help you reach your goals. They needed to bypass your natural defenses, and a massive fall shatters those boundaries, leaving you fractured and easy to exploit. False friends do not lift you up to watch you soar. They carry you to dizzying heights specifically to ensure that your eventual fall carries enough destructive force to break you. In the immediate aftermath, you are left to sift through the wreckage. The hardest part is often processing the fact that the intense connection and support you felt were entirely manufactured. Clarity only arrives when you recognize the mechanics of the trap. The sudden drop was not a reflection of your worth, nor was it a failure on your part to maintain the relationship. It was the successful execution of a predator's design. Recovering from that impact requires you to reclaim the agency you surrendered. It is a slow, agonizing process of pushing yourself back up, taking inventory of your injuries, and learning to trust your own weight again. Hitting the rocks strips away the illusion of an easy ascent. Surviving that crash is a harsh but necessary catalyst that cures you of ever desiring a shortcut again. There is a stark difference between the illusion of being carried and the reality of climbing. One is fast, effortless, and completely outside your control. The other is exhausting, deliberate, and entirely yours. Genuine growth demands that you carve out your own footholds. When you build a solid foundation layer by layer, you eliminate the risk of someone else abruptly pulling it out from under you. Patience with your own steady progress is your strongest defense against manipulation. When you are content to move at your own pace, the sudden, sweeping promises of a false savior lose their power to tempt you. True flight and true freedom are never found by trusting a stranger's wings. They are found by cultivating the undeniable strength to scale your own mountains, step by step,